Are you sick of waking up to a tangled mess of spaghetti instead of a perfect print? Do you feel like you're constantly burning through time and expensive filament, only to have your prints refuse to stick to the bed? We've all been there. The internet is overflowing with so-called 3D printing hacks. But how many of them are legit? We put a bunch to the test to find the 11 that will genuinely solve your adhesion problems and seriously speed up your prints. These are the tips and slicer settings that will take you from frustrating fails to making parts you can actually be proud of. We're going to cut through the noise, separate the myths from what actually works, and give you practical techniques that get real results. Let's get to it. It all starts here. Seriously, poor bed adhesion is one of the most common and soul-crushing issues in 3D printing. If that first layer doesn't stick perfectly, the whole print is toast from the get-go. You either get warping, where the corners lift up, or the entire thing pops off mid-print, leaving you with that dreaded plastic spaghetti. So our first hack is a 2-for-1 deal, focused entirely on getting that foundation right. Here's the science bit. Plastic shrinks as it cools, and that shrinking force is what peels your print right off the build plate. To fight this, you just need a better grip. You've probably heard people mention a simple purple glue stick, and there's a good reason for that. On a glass bed, a thin, even layer of a PVA glue stick can be an absolute game changer. It creates a tacky surface that gives that first layer something extra to grab onto. As a bonus, it also acts as a release agent when the print is done, making your parts way easier to pop off. But it's not a magic wand for every surface. If you're using a modern, textured PEI sheet, a good wipe down with isopropyl alcohol is often all you need to get rid of dust and fingerprints. Those surfaces are literally designed to grip filament when they're hot and let go when they cool. For tricky materials like ABS, you might need to look into special bed adhesives or an ABS slurry. But for PLA and PETG on glass, that humble glue stick is a fantastic, cheap tool you should always have on hand. The second part of locking down your foundation is all about speed. You can have the best prepped surface in the world, but if your nozzle is flying across the bed on that first layer, the filament just doesn't have time to bond. This is a setting you absolutely need to check in your slicer. The hack is dead simple. Slow it down. A great starting point for your first layer speed is 20 millimeters per second. A lot of default profiles run faster than this, and while you might get lucky sometimes, a dedicated slow first layer gives you the consistency for a perfect squish and a rock-solid bond. It gives the molten plastic a moment to really melt into the build plate surface before it hardens. You can even turn off your part cooling fan for the first couple of layers to stop the plastic from cooling and shrinking too fast. This combo a Euro, a clean bed, and a slow start a Euro will get rid of most of your adhesion nightmares. Even with a flawless first layer, some models are just designed to be difficult. Think tall, skinny objects with a tiny footprint, or huge flat parts that love to warp. They just need a little extra help. The problem here is stability and surface area. A model with a tiny base can get knocked over easily, and a massive flat model creates a ton of pulling force as it cools. Your slicer has two powerful tools for this: brims and rafts. A brim should be your first choice. ETA Euro S, just a single layer of extra lines printed around the base of your model, attached directly to it. This hugely increases the surface area, touching the bed, giving it way more power to resist those peeling forces. It uses barely any extra material or time and is easy to peel off later. If you're even a little worried about a part lifting, start with a 4 to 8 millimeter brim. A raft, on the other hand, is the heavy-duty option. ETA Euro S, a whole separate printed platform that your model is built on top of. Think of a raft as a last resort. ETA Euro S, amazing for models that are incredibly unstable, like a standing miniature, or for materials with extreme warping. But it uses a lot more time and material, and the bottom surface of your print will never be as glassy smooth as it would be on a bare plate. So, Hyria Euro S the hack. Use a brim first for adhesion. Only switch to a raft when you need to build a whole new foundation for a wobbly model. Okay, so your prints are sticking. Now, the next big hurdle is time. Nobody wants to wait 18 hours for a print to finish. These next few hacks are all about cutting down that print time without turning your model into a stringy mess. One of the biggest time sinks in printing is your layer height. Lower layer height means more layers, and more layers mean more time. A lot of beginners print everything at a superfine 0.12 millimeters, thinking it's the only way to get good quality. The hack is to make 0.2 millimeters your go-to layer height. For a standard 0.4 millimeters nozzle, 0.2 millimeters is the perfect sweet spot, balancing speed and surface quality. ETA Euro S, fast enough for functional parts and quick prototypes, but still looks great on most display models. You can go even faster with thicker layers, like 0.28 millimeters, for stronger parts. But 0.2 millimeters is the workhorse setting you should build your profiles around. Ever had a print that feels solid, but the outside looks rough and messy? The hack is to cut your outer wall speed in half. Slicers let you control speed for different parts of the print. While you can print infill and inner walls at high speeds, like 150 to 250 millimeters per second on modern printers, your outer walls need more care. Drop your outer wall speed to 50% or less of your inner wall speed, around 60 to 80 millimeters per second. This gives the plastic time to lay down smoothly, resulting in a beautiful finish with no banding. Speed where it doesn't matter, quality where it does. This next one feels like actual magic. What if you could get the detail of fine layers and the speed of thick layers in the same print? That a Euro S, exactly what variable layer height does. A fixed layer height is just inefficient. A tall, straight wall doesn't a Euro T need the same detail as a curved dome on top of a model. Variable layer height, a feature in modern slicers like Prusa Slicer and Cura, lets the software automatically use thick layers on simple vertical sections and thin layers on complex curves. By flipping this feature on, you can slash your print time by a huge amount a euro, sometimes 30% or more, depending on the model. You get the speed of thick layers for the boring parts of the model, while keeping that high-quality, smooth finish right where you can see it. ETA Euro S. Honestly, the best of both worlds. Alright, if these tips are already giving you some ideas, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot more to cover, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss future videos that'll save you time and filament. Let's get into some of those annoying little flaws that can ruin an otherwise perfect print. Those little blobs or zits on your print surface, they're often caused by the nozzle oozing a tiny bit of plastic as it travels. This is where your retraction settings come into play. Retraction is what pulls the filament back a tiny bit before the nozzle moves to prevent that ooze. The hack is to properly calibrate your retraction distance and turn on Z-hop. The perfect retraction distance really depends on your printer. For a direct drive extruder, where the motor is right on the hot end, you'll want a very short distance, around 0.5 to 1.5 millimeters. For a Bowden setup, where the extruder motor is on the frame, you need a much longer pull, usually between 2 and 6 millimeters. Pair this with Z-hop. Z-hop lifts the nozzle up a bit during travel moves, so it doesn't drag across your print, leaving scratches or knocking things over. While Z-hop can sometimes create its own fine stringing, ETA Euro S, a powerful tool for getting a clean surface, and definitely a setting you should play with. Want to make your prints more functional? You don't need a fancy multi-material printer to embed things like nuts for bolts or magnets for closures. The hack is to use the Pause at Height command in your slicer. This tells the printer to stop at a specific layer, move the print head aside, and just wait. Slice your model, then find the layer just before the cavity for your nut or magnet gets covered up. Add the pause command there. When the printer stops, you just drop the component into the perfectly sized pocket. Make sure you designed it with enough wiggle room. Once it's in, you just tell the printer to resume, and it'll continue printing right over the top, sealing the object inside your part. These last few hacks are all about maintenance and finishing touches that take your prints from good to great. Those tiny hair-like strands of plastic, or stringing, can cover a print and be a real pain to clean up. While tuning your settings is the real fix. ETA Euro S, a clever slicer feature for hiding minor flaws. The hack is called Fuzzy Skin. ETA Euro S, a cool feature in most slicers that tells the nozzle to intentionally wobble just a tiny bit as it prints the outer walls. This creates a unique, textured surface that does a great job hiding minor stringing and other small blemishes. It won't a Euro T fix the root cause, but it can turn a slightly flawed print into a unique piece with a cool, grippy texture. ETA Euro S, perfect for things like tool handles, grips, or any part where you want a textured, non-glossy finish. Over time, little bits of burnt plastic and dust can build up inside your nozzle, leading to clogs, under-extrusion, and just bad-looking prints. The best way to clear this gunk out is with a cold pull. The idea is to use a piece of filament to pull all the junk out with it. Nylon or a special cleaning filament works best, but you can do it with PLA too. Heat your nozzle to its normal print temp and push the filament through until it comes out clean. Then, turn the heater off. For PLA, you want to let it cool down to around 90 to 100 odd degrees C. Once it hits that temperature, you yank the filament out firmly and quickly. The partially melted tip will have molded to the inside of your nozzle, and as you pull it out, it drags all that carbonized gunk out with it. Do this anytime you see your print quality start to drop. Ever hear a clicking sound or have your nozzle knock a print right off the bed? That's often grid infill. Because grid lines cross each other on the same layer, they build up tiny ridges that the nozzle collides with during fast travel moves. The hack is to switch to Gyroid infill in your slicer. Gyroid prints in a continuous, wavy pattern that never crosses itself, resulting in a silent, smoother print with equal strength in all directions. So there you have it, a Euro 11 printer hacks that will actually make a difference. We've covered everything from building a rock-solid foundation to speeding up your prints and finishing them like a pro. These aren't just random tips, they're proven strategies for the most common headaches in 3D printing. Stop wasting filament on failed prints and start making parts you're excited about. Take these hacks, work them into your process, and I promise you'll see a huge improvement in your results. What's your favorite printing hack that I didn't mention? Let me know down in the comments. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content to help you print better. Thanks for watching and happy printing!